We will now have eulogy by Ambassador Liu Huang. Let listen. Kaising of the deceased.
The President of the Republic, Your Excellency, Dr. George Mane Wia, under whose direction these solemn ceremonies are taking place. We salute you, sir, and we thank you for your presence and your generous support. Well done, sir. Vice President Dr. Jewel Howard Taylor, former President Dr. Mrs. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, former Vice President Excellency Joseph Yuma Boyka, the Speaker and members of the House of Representatives, distinguished senators under the direction of the President Pro Tempore, members of the Diplomatic Corps, the clergy, the Christian clergy, the Muslim imams, and today I must not fail to mention that the Muslims are beginning the holy month of Ramadan. Salam alaikum. Dear Sister Comfort, you who are leading us in this big uniform that we're all wearing, expressing our sadness, devout spouse of our beloved departed brother, you who have been with Sawyer through thick and thin. You have faced many a trial, many a tribulation within. Okay, I agree, this must be one of the hardest for us. But you have been there. Which reminds me of the trials and tribulations mentioned in that famous popular song of ours, Amazing Grace. And that third verse, which Dr. Dipute should be here to sing. Through many trials, stars and storms, we have already called. It's grace that brought us in thus far, and grace made us whole. Dear people of Liberia, you in whose interest Dr. Sawyer has labored, never tired to speak out and act in your defense. I say, Namaya, they are all very, very sad. Our people in Sapo say, Sawyer man. I know our people from New Cruton gave Sawyer, changed that Claudius name into Claudio. And the women led by Martha Nagbe said his name was Nagbe. Sawyer Meo. Since that night of February 16, when news of Sawyer's death was proclaimed to the world, sadness, like a sharp sword, has wounded our hearts. Things have fallen apart, as they were, and we are deeply aggrieved. And rightly so, because the loss that we mourn today is monumental. Sawyer was one of those rare individuals who was both intelligent and honest, two qualities which are rarely found in any one individual, but which are indispensable for national development. I have known Dr. Sawyer all of my life. From the beginning, it was clear to me and to all of our colleagues that AC, Joblo, Dip, our affectionate names for Dr. Sawyer, we knew that this Dr. Sawyer was destined to achieve greatness. He was brilliant. He was brilliant and well liked by all of us. He was then and until his death a very generous fellow. Generous with his time and generous with his resources. He was not one of those saints with an open mouth and a closed wallet. No. Sawyer practiced the maxim that to pity distress is but human, to relieve it is godlike. That is why so many people are mourning Sawyer today. The many youths whose school expenses he defrayed, the many families whose livelihood he supported, the many people he and his wife have reared and taken under their tutelage, and the all and sundry for whom Sawyer has always had a smile and a word of encouragement. Upon attaining his doctorate degree in the United States, Sawyer, rejecting many lucrative offers for employment at American universities, he rejected them and immediately returned home. It was seen that, like so many of us, Sawyer was bitten by that bug contained in Mark's 11th thesis on Feuerbach. Remember that thesis. Philosophers have only interpreted the world in different ways. But the point, however, is to change the world. So he decided that his education would not be deployed to only interpreting the world, but more importantly, education was to be used to change the world. And so upon his return, Sawyer plunged himself in the budding struggle for greater freedom in our country. This struggle was being led by that Dr. Tobana Tibote, who was, make some noise for Dr. Tibote. Dr. Tibote was and continues to be a paragon of commitment, modesty, and brutal honesty. What Sawyer may have missed in stature, Sawyer certainly made up for it in his Einstein plus blinding-sized brain. His engaging personality and his strategic thinking, all of which was put at the disposal of our struggle, thus enhancing it and giving it a big boost. Sawyer was thus a leading force in our establishment of Moja and Susuku. Following the coup d'etat in 1980, Sawyer and most members of the progressive forces, Sawyer lent his support to the military junta. He was made chairman of the commission charged with authoring a new constitution. That constitution, even after it was retrogressively butchered by the interim assembly, that constitution remains one of the most advanced and most progressive constitutions in our world today. Long before the very advanced Constitution of South Africa. And after all these years, to the great disappointment and chagrin of Dr. Sawyer and the progressive forces, the new military regime was putting what may be called a populist ideology. But this junta, lumpen proletariat in its outlook, this junta embarked on a regime of plunder and repression. So most of the progressives were expelled from government and handed into exile. As Commander Weed said, at a young age when he was the first, I think the only Liberian that I know was banned within Liberia. So our dream of a Liberia free, united, progressive, and under the leadership of the majority of its people, that dream was not to be realized under the military regime. When Dr. Sawyer and the Liberian People's Party contested the excesses of this regime, he and so many comrades were jailed and subjected to all kinds of abuses. In solidarity with them, I resigned my post as ambassador to France and went into exile. But in the crucible of time, and almost as with the inexorable force of logic, Dr. Sawyer was to become president of the interim government of Liberia, which was established as an instrument of peace during our long and brutal fratricidal war. Was that karma? As interim president, Sawyer was relentless in his pursuit for peace in our country. He endured so many attacks by various factions, all the time rebuffing the many attempts to turn the interim government into another armed political faction. Sawyer refused, and he succeeded, not without many setbacks, not without many difficulties. He succeeded in pacifying the country, culminating in the election of 1997. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, when a person dies in our Liberia, it is usual to make speeches to emphasize their virtues. But Sawyer does not need a praise singer, because his legacy speaks for him. And I can say today, rarely can we say of a person with greater justice, with greater accuracy, what we say of Dr. Sawyer, that he was a shining example of a good human being. And so we are all aggrieved at having lost a moral man, a man of extraordinary human sensitivity. We are aggrieved when we consider that Sawyer has died at a time when our country could continue to benefit from his intelligence and his even richer experience. But Sawyer has left us a heritage, a fine heritage. And we, his relatives, friends, and colleagues, we who knew him so well, we are duty-bound to promote this heritage. And what is this heritage? It is to be found in Sawyer's progressive thinking, his moral values, his courage in the face of political problems. It is to be found in his good character, his tenacity, his capacity for hard work. That is why today, as in the future, when an example of a good person is to be sought, when an example of a progressive Liberian, a progressive African is sought, that example, unsurpassed by any other, will be Sawyer's example. Because tribal prejudices, chauvinism, egoism, all of those have disappeared from Sawyer, from his mind and from his heart. And he was ready to share his generosity spontaneously and immediately with any person, whatever may be his tribe. If you consider Sawyer's staff, I had the privilege of meeting most of them. It was like the macrocosm of Liberia. You had the VARs, the crews, the rebels, the Nufafians, etc., etc. And we were discussing the other night. So why did he put this kind of team together? Because for him, brilliance was what mattered. Not where you came from, or what was your religion. Man, let's have many more Sawyers. Let's have many more Sawyers now. That is why I'm telling our people, we must not hesitate to launch the Amos Claudio Nagbe Sawyer Foundation when we celebrate Sawyer's birthday on 15 June. Alas, death is still inevitable, and one can only live once. But if you live right, once is enough. Sawyer lived well and right. And it is for this reason that we must face the future with optimism. And in Sawyer's example, we will always find inspiration. Inspiration in his devotion to the cause of the people and the service of the state. Inspiration in tenacity, inspiration in his patriotism, inspiration in his life of work and responsibility. And so whenever the heroes and sheroes of our people are listed, Sawyer's name will always be in the place of honor. Alongside Rodney Lamb, Naron Akogo, Albert Paul, Marcus Matthews, Jalkuya, to name only a few of our departed comrades. And when the names of Liberian authors and intellectuals are called, again, Dr. Sawyer's name will be mentioned with high honors. His many books and articles on the Liberian situation are indispensable for understanding our country, its politics, and its people. In his last days, he authored a series of civic books which will mark a great contribution to the education of our people, both young and old. And who will ever forget Sawyer's contribution to the political lexicon of our country by a single word, concomitant. And he used that word in negotiations leading to the establishment of peace in our country. If for no other reason, Sawyer will not be forgotten. I remember a saying from Benjamin Franklin. And Franklin said, if you will not be forgotten, either write things worth reading or do things worth writing about. But Sawyer did both, and we shall remember him. I'm about to conclude. Words are inadequate, like we say in Sino. Words are inadequate to express our grief, and Sawyer wouldn't like me standing here clapping. So, AC, Mr. Sawyer, and we'll call me Mr. Mason. Joblo, Dave, you have done well. You have run the race. You have fought the fight. along with Sister Comfort, your beautiful and indomitable spouse. You have inspired so many young comrades to whom they struggle for rights and rights in our beloved Liberia, to whom those are given the responsibility. As you, dear brother, depart these earthly shows, remember that many of us with whom you began the struggle, many of us are retired or on the road to retirement. But we can never be tired when it comes to standing up in defense of the poor, the oppressed, and the downtrodden in our country. Sorry, brother. The tears will not permit me to continue. So let me conclude with these lines from Tennyson's Ulysses. Though much is taken, much abides. And though we are not now that strength which in old days moved earth and heaven, that which we are, we are. One equal temper of heroic hearts, made weak by time and fate, but strong in will to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. Fare thee well, my comrade, my friend, my brother. May the angels come to meet you. As we Catholics would say, Pax Domini sit semper vobiscum. May the peace of God remain with you always. Zebue! 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 Fernando, Zebue! Where is it?